Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story where OP let their coworkers' arrogance overflow, literally, and proved once and for all why sometimes you just have to take charge. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Everyone got mad because I took charge when no one else would. Sure, I let them dig their own grave. About 14 years ago, I went to work for a major petroleum company in Indianapolis. Over my 4 years there, I applied myself and gained enough knowledge to be more knowledgeable than the most senior guy. Well, one day stuff hit the fan and we were looking at a potentially major spill because the packing in a pump had failed. Nobody was doing anything, and I'm a take-charge kind of guy, so I started barking orders. Now, you have to understand, this would have been an EPA nightmare, so there was no time for niceties. The other employees went and complained, and I was called into the manager's office and was told about the complaints that I just barked orders and didn't ask nicely. He told me that I did the right thing and that next time, if it wasn't going to be a major issue, to give them enough rope to hang themselves. Bet. So the next time I saw that they had the valve set up in such a way that 2 soap tanks for making asphalt emulsion would overflow, and while not an EPA big deal, it would bring scrutiny from the Health, Environment, Safety, and Security division of our company, I mentioned to them that they might want to check the valve lineup because something didn't look right. Well, they told me to mind my own business. As it was time for me to go home, I called the manager from my car and said, "You should probably start heading to the terminal because 2 tanks are about to overrun." I tried to tell them, but they told me to mind my own business. I didn't get halfway home before a neighbor to the facility came knocking on the door saying liquid was overflowing 2 tanks. As the only first responder not involved in the incident, I had to return to the facility and supervise cleanup until the big guns from corporate came in about 3 hours later. All 3 were put on probation and then eventually fired for more screw-ups. The beauty of this was after that incident, they were told to follow what I said explicitly and never again complain that someone doesn't say please and thank you in a crisis. They all hated me until the day they left. Why? Because I was the only person to take charge when no one else would. People are weird when it comes to reacting to a serious situation. They seize up and then get embarrassed when they see someone react appropriately and handle the situation that they could have handled themselves. And our second story. T-bone steaks are $1. So this happened a number of years back now. I was working the cash one night at a large grocery chain here in Canada. It was a pretty slow night, only a few customers an hour type of evening. I was standing at my register and talking to one of my coworkers when a lady and her kid pull up to my lane and start unloading her shopping cart that had about a dozen large packages of T-bone steaks. I didn't think too much of it at first, since sometimes people come in with big orders for barbecues. I finished scanning her order and give her the total, a few $100s, as each pack was about $20 to $25. She immediately goes full Karen and yells at me, "You scanned those wrong. Those are $1 each." I asked her if she meant the steaks, and she yelled again, "Yes, of course the steaks." I explained to her that steaks are priced by weight and they couldn't be $1 each. She continues to freak out and yells some more about how I'm an idiot and will never amount to anything. I was in college at the time and am a fairly successful accountant now, for the record. Her kid's standing there the whole time looking horrified, but also like they've seen this before. She then yells, "If you're calling me a liar, come and see and I'll show you they're $1 each." As I said, it's a slow night, so I say sure and follow her to the cooler section. Once there, she points to a sign near the steak cooler and yells, "Look, it says right there, $1 each, or can you not read?" I look at the sign, look back in the woman and say, "Well, ma'am, it does say $1 each. For the bottles of ketchup in the display, the sign is clearly hanging off of." She looks at the sign again and realizes her mistake, but yells one more time, "Well, why would you put it so close to the steaks?" With that, she storms off. Her kid looked so embarrassed. To this day, it was one of the most satisfying things that's happened on the job. It's crazy how people think they can talk to retail staff. They wouldn't dare speak that way to a random stranger. Damn cowards. And our last story. How my neighbor ruined my pool and tried to sue me. Hello everyone, this is my first post here, and I just have to share this crazy story about my neighbor, whom I'll call Karen. So I live in a small suburb where the houses are quite close to each other. I have a small pool in my yard that I built a few years ago. It's my place to relax after a long workday, and I sometimes invite friends over for a barbecue. A week ago, Karen approached me. She's known in our neighborhood for her controlling tendencies and constant complaints about everything and everyone. Karen: Hi neighbor, I have a small favor to ask. Me: Hello Karen, what's up? Karen: My daughter's 18th birthday's coming up. We're planning a big party, and I thought it would be wonderful to hold it in your yard by the pool. I was a bit taken aback by her straightforwardness. Me: To be honest, I'm not ready to offer my yard for such a big party. It's my personal space. Her smile instantly vanished. Karen: It's just for one night. You can even join us. Don't you want to be a good neighbor? Me: Sorry, but I prefer to keep such events under my own control. I hope you understand. She snorted. Karen: You'll regret your decision. I thought that was the end of it, but as it turned out, it was just the beginning. A couple of days later, I come home and notice something's off. I get closer and see that my pool is completely destroyed. Tiles are broken, water spilled out, equipment damaged. I was in shock. At that moment, Karen comes out of her house and, with a fake smile, says, Karen: Oh, what happened to your pool? How awful. Me: I have no idea. Someone clearly did this deliberately. Did you see anything? She shrugs. Karen: Unfortunately, no, but I looked into it, and it seems your pool doesn't comply with our neighborhood codes. Maybe you should remove it altogether. I began to suspect that this was her doing. Me: Are you serious? First you asked to hold a party, and now this? She smiled. Karen: Rules are rules. I've already reported this to the appropriate authorities. I was beside myself with rage. I called the police and filed a vandalism report, but without evidence, there wasn't much they could do. A week later, I receive a letter. I'm being summoned to court. Karen has filed a lawsuit against me for non-compliance of the pool with building codes and posing a threat to the safety of others. On the day of the court hearing, we met in the hallway. Karen: Do you think you have a chance? I'm well prepared. Me: Why are you doing this? Is it all because I didn't allow the party? She looked at me coldly. Karen: No one denies my family. You picked the wrong person to argue with. During the court session, she provided photos and documents trying to prove that my pool was illegal. Fortunately, I had all the necessary permits and documents that I received from the previous HOA president. My lawyer also presented witnesses who saw Karen entering my property on the day the pool was damaged. After reviewing all the evidence, the judge ruled in my favor and recommended that I file a counterclaim for property damage. After the court, Karen looked enraged. Karen: This isn't over. I'll get my way. Since then, she continues to bother me, throws trash into my yard, makes noise at night. Her guests block my driveway. I installed surveillance cameras and am gathering evidence for the next step. Update. Hello again. The story doesn't end there. After the court sided with me, I hoped that Karen would calm down, but unfortunately, she decided to continue her revenge. One evening after a heavy rain, I returned home from work and noticed that my trash cans were moved out of place and lying on their sides. Garbage was scattered all over the yard. I immediately realized this was no accident. The next day, I decided to secure the bins by placing them on special stands. I thought this would solve the problem, but Karen didn't stop. Late at night, I heard a loud engine roar and the screech of metal. Looking out the window, I saw Karen in her SUV trying to knock over my trash cans with her bumper. The ground after the rain was wet and soft, and her wheels began to sink into the soil. She tried to reverse, but the car got stuck. The wheels were spinning, throwing mud and grass, tearing up my lawn. I went outside with my phone in hand. Me: Karen, what are you doing? She looked out her car window with an irritated expression. Karen: Your bins are too close to the road. I accidentally hit them. Me: Seriously? You're deliberately trying to overturn them. She snorted. Karen: Don't be ridiculous. It's your fault they're not where they should be. I decided not to argue and called the police. While we waited for the officers to arrive, Karen continued trying to get her car out, but only made the situation worse, further destroying my yard. When the police arrived, 2 officers approached us. Officer 1, "What's going on here?" Me, "My neighbor tried to knock over my trash cans with her car and got stuck, destroying my lawn in the process." Karen interrupted me. "Karen, that's a lie. I just lost control due to the slippery road." Officer 2, "Ma'am, can you step out of the vehicle?" She reluctantly got out of the car. Mud was everywhere. Officer 1, "Do you have an explanation for why you're on your neighbor's property?" Karen, "This is a public road. And anyway, it's his own fault. He constantly causes problems. I thought he'd learn, but apparently I'll have to break his pool again, a-hole." Me, "What do you mean?" She realized she'd said too much and tried to backtrack. Karen, "Well, I mean, he's dangerous, so I mean, someone had to do something about it." Me, "Hey, she just confessed, and a witness saw her in my yard that evening." The officers exchanged glances. "Ma'am, are you saying you're involved in the damage to his pool?" She fell silent, realizing she'd slipped up. Karen, "I didn't say anything like that." Officer 1, "We'll need to record your statement. Please come with us." She began to get nervous. Karen, "This is absurd. You're all conspiring against me." She started shouting and threatening to file complaints against the police and me. Officer 2, calmly, "Ma'am, if you don't calm down, we'll have to detain you for disorderly conduct." She fell silent but continued to give me angry looks. After collecting all the evidence, the officers filed a report. I provided them with recordings from my surveillance cameras showing Karen repeatedly damaging my property. A few days later, a detective called me and informed me that charges had been filed against Karen for vandalism and intentional property damage. Several neighbors, upon learning of what happened, decided to support me and also shared their stories about her behavior. At the court hearing, Karen looked agitated. Her lawyer tried to present everything as a misunderstanding. There was too much evidence. The judge found her guilty. She was fined, ordered to pay restitution, and assigned community service. After court, she approached me. Karen, "You'll regret this. This isn't over." I calmly replied, "Me, Karen, you can go to hell." She said nothing and walked away. Since then, she's tried to avoid me. Her house was put up for sale, and a couple of months later, she moved away. The new neighbor turned out to be a pleasant person. We got acquainted. He invited me over for dinner, and we discussed plans to improve the neighborhood. Sometimes Karens go too far. But in this story, our OP turned out to be a tough nut to crack and stood up for himself. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.